Now we're going to add some lines on our spreadsheet. The lines are just for formatting to make things look clear when we're looking at the spreadsheet or when we're printing it. All of these lines that you see now, vertical and horizontal, these are called grid lines. And these are the things that separate the columns from each other, separate rows from each other, and create a box that's called a cell. Now, grid lines may or may not show up in printing depending on how you set your print settings. But borders, the lines that we're going to create on purpose, always show up, are always printed. But sometimes there might be a section of your spreadsheet that you might want to single out or kind of separate. And in that case, you can make those lines a little bit darker. Borders can show up on the printed sheet even if you don't have your grid line showing up. When you're creating forms like invoices or timesheets, maybe you don't want all of those lines, it just looks messy, but you do want a few lines so the data, the information, whatever is typed or written in is clearly organized and formatted. For each cell has 4 sides. There's a top side or a border. There's a right border. There's a border on the bottom of that cell, and there's a left border. In order to apply a border to a cell, first click on the cell. Look in your toolbar for your Borders button. When you click it, you'll get several options. Which border, which line do you want to apply a border to? All of the buttons here in the border have a dotted outline, but the solid line shows you where the border is going to be applied. By clicking this button, I get a top border. By clicking this, I'll get a right. Click on this button for the bottom. Click on this for a left border. Or if I want to do all the borders at the same time, I will click on all borders. And if I want to change the color of the lines, I will click on this button to change the color. And then I have to click on the border I want one more time to change the color. We're going to create a line that separates the last item in income from the total. So that line's going to go underneath on the bottom of these cells. And no, it is not underlined. I'm going to click on this whole range, this whole row of cells, because we want a line underneath all of these cells, on the bottom of them. And then there's the button on the toolbar for borders. We'll click on that button. We want a bottom border. We don't want a top or side or middle. We just want one on the bottom. So we're going to select the button that has all dotted lines, but a solid bottom border, a solid line for the bottom. And we're going to click it. And now we have a line that's separating the last item in income from the total income. And it's just kind of, again, it makes the spreadsheet look clear about what's going on and what the separation is. Let's do another one here. For the last item in expenses, let's separate the items in expenses from the total. I'm going to select every cell in the last row of expenses. Click the border button, and we're going to select which border we want, the bottom border. There we have a nice, neat line that separates the list of items from the total. Let's add one more dimension to this budget. Here on the bottom of your spreadsheet is a tab, and this tab is labeled Sheet 2. Tabs are a way to add multiple pages in your spreadsheet to make organization easier. We want to set up a spreadsheet for the next year, 2025. We're going to start a whole new sheet. You're going to find this useful. First, let's name this sheet. This sheet is for 2024, and we're going to create a new sheet that looks just like this for 2025. To change the tab name, Let's move our mouse down here to the tab, and notice next to the tab name is a little down arrow. This arrow gives you an options menu. And on this menu, we've got different things that we can do to the sheet itself, the whole sheet. And we're going to click rename. It's ready to be renamed. It's highlighted in blue. And we're just going to start typing. And we're going to call this sheet 2024 for this year. Enter. To add a new sheet, we move here in the beginning to the left of all the sheet tabs and click the plus button to add a new sheet. And we could start a whole new sheet here. But instead of doing all that work of typing it in again, we already have a perfectly good sheet. Let's click on 2024. That's a perfectly good sheet. Let's use that one. So we'll delete the sheet that we just created. We're going to click that options, the arrow next to the sheet name for the different options that we have, and click delete. Yes, we are sure we want to delete this. Let's take this perfectly good sheet that we've created that's already in place. Click the options arrow next to the sheet name, and you might have already noticed this, duplicate. Now we see it's created a copy of what we just used. How do we know what sheet we're on? Because the sheet tab is going to be blue, highlighted in blue. So right now we're on the sheet for 2024. This is the sheet that we want to use for 2025. Let's change the name of that first. I'm going to click the arrow to get that options menu. We'll click rename, and let's type in the year we want to use so we can stay clear on what we're doing here. In fact, while we're here, I'm going to go over to the totals, the annual totals on the spreadsheet, which is in column N, and where it says 2024, let's change that to 2025. I'm just going to start typing. It will type over what's already in the cell and hit enter. Okay. What else? We aren't sure if these numbers are going to be the same for 2025. It hasn't started yet as far as we're concerned for this video, for this spreadsheet. So we're going to delete all these numbers, but we're going to leave the formulas because the formulas are good no matter what number we put in there. If next year was the job, our earnings go to 5,000, the formula still works. The formula still adds what's in this cell, B3, what's in B4. So we don't need to get rid of the formulas. We just want to get rid of the numbers. So I'm going to click on the first cell that I want to delete. Go. So I am going to select a range of numbers to delete. It's going to start here, B3. I'm going to click and hold the mouse down. I'm going to drag it across. And this time, because we're not doing a formula, we're just deleting, I am going to move the mouse down one row because these are all the numbers I want to delete. And that they're all selected, I'm going to press the delete key or the backspace key. All of the numbers are gone. All the formulas have gone to 0 because there's nothing there to add. But the formulas, again, are still valid once we put something in the cell. See? But right now, we're going to empty them out and just leave this as a blank form, if you will. Let's do the same thing for our expenses. We're going to get rid of all the expenses because, as far as we're concerned, 2025 has not started yet, and we don't know what the expenses are going to be. So I'm going to select all of these numbers and to delete them. I'm starting from January to rent. I'm going to go all the way across to the last column for December, and then I'm going to move my mouse down, holding my left mouse key down the whole time, moving down to transportation. And letting go. I've got a range of cells selected, I want to delete all of these, so I can hit the backspace key or the delete key. Same thing. And we have a blank spreadsheet ready to go for the new year. When you have a sheet that is formatted and has formulas in it and is pretty much ready to go, it's kind of automated, but it doesn't have any data in it, it's waiting for new data, we call this a template. You can use this again and again. So you've created a template, and before we start entering numbers in it, only to have to copy this and delete it again next year, let's just save this in our tabs as a template. Let's duplicate it. We're going to click on the arrow on our tab, duplicate, and now we've created another copy. We're going to rename this one. Click the arrow, rename, template. So as we fill up 2025, when we get to the end of 2025, we don't have to start all over deleting things. It's fine. We will use this template and we'll copy that. Here, in fact, we'll take the year out so it's not confusing, and we'll type in a hint so we remember what to do when we fill this template in the next time, or if we share this template with somebody else.